Pittsburgh Steelers fans, it's time once again for another episode of the Steel Curtains Network's Sunday night Q&A. Oh, my name is Brian Anthony Davis. Jeremy Betts is out on assignment, so I am here once again hanging out with you, a show that we started a long time ago, and I'm getting a chance to resume the chair. I love it. This is one of my favorite shows to do because it's an opportunity for me to bond with you. So I am back, and of course, this is Mother's Day, and it's very important. Now, if you're in the live chat, when you come on in, you have to go ahead. If you're going to write a comment, you have to write that you're a mom. I want to know if you're a mom, and I'm going to go ahead and give you a special shout out because look, whether it's our moms that gave us life and helped guide us, some of us taught us the ways of the black and gold. So that's a very important thing too. But also our wives who do so much for us. And I know me, I mean, I consider myself a good dad, but I don't do what my wife does. She knows these kids inside and out. We're dealing with some allergies with my daughter right now, some very serious allergies, and she is up on everything and she knows everything. And here I am. I'm like, I don't know what to do. So there you go. So this is so important to me. Mother's Day is such a special day. You know, nothing's like honoring mom, and we get an opportunity to do that. So let's hear your shout outs. Afton Fored, she's a mom. Happy Mother's Day, Afton. Also, I'm seeing Kathy, mom here. Happy Mother's Day to all her mom colleagues. Let's see. So those are the only moms I have so far. But moms, let me know if you're a mom. I want to see it. And also get your questions in. We're going to have some fun here. I know you have fun every week with Jeremy Betts. I got to tell you, whoever Jeremy brings in, that's a fantastic show. It's a must listen. So definitely check those out. I'm so glad to be here with you, though. And let's get it started. And I just had a little bit of an accident in my office. So I do apologize for that. Let me go ahead and plug back in here, and we'll be ready to go. So here we go. What do we know about the new cornerback? It's Afton asking that question. The new corner, Anthony Averett. If I'm not mistaken, Anthony Averett has spent some time definitely with the Detroit Lions. And he has spent some time, if I'm not mistaken, with the Baltimore Ravens. And here it is right here. I might be wrong about, no, he was with the Lions. So this is what we're looking at here. He entered the league as a 4th round pick of the Ravens in 2018. He was used sparingly during his first 2 Baltimore campaigns, but he logged 18 starts across 2020 and 2021. That led to him going to Las Vegas and playing for the Raiders. He was limited to just 6 games in 2022. And then he spent last year with the 49ers after a brief stint with the Lions practice squad. He is from the University of Alabama. So that's something we've seen a lot of great corners coming from Alabama. And what they teach there is phenomenal stuff. We will see what exactly happens here, but that's a good pickup. And if you have my opinion, anybody that you're bringing in right now has a chance to go ahead and make a mark. And I'm glad to see it. It's nice to see a name in there as well that I'm familiar with. I wasn't too familiar, but I had to do a little bit of research. But that's a good signing because we saw last year with a guy that had some experience in an Eric Rowe be very important down the stretch. You never know with injuries in this day and age. This is a guy that definitely has the chops to go ahead and make this team. So welcome Anthony Averett to the team. Biggie Bronco asked, how has your minicamp been going? Here's something that was brought up to me the other night. And I was asked, what do I want to see out of rookie minicamp? Basically, I said, I don't really care what I see, except for I want them to have relationships with the coaches, with the fellow players, and just learn the ways of the force, basically. learn what it's like to be a Steeler, and just show up and be ready to work and ready to learn. That's all I really care about. What have we seen so far? We've seen guys do just that. And that's great news. Danny Owens Jr. asked which rookies will start week 1 and how long for the other rookies to start to play. Well, it depends who we're talking about here. Troy Fautanu, I expect to see Troy Fautanu probably week 3 or 4. I think the red shirt now has changed for the Pittsburgh Steelers and in the National Football League. I think it's pretty much like, unless you're a quarterback, it almost feels like the red shirt is about a month, the first quarter of the season or so. And I know there's 17 games, so you could call it, there's not really quarters anymore, but you could call the first 5 a quarter. You can call the last 5 a quarter. It doesn't really matter. But I still think Dan Moore Jr. is going to start. I think he's going to have an opportunity to start. But what could be confusing is Troy Fautanu. He came in and he was taking a lot of reps at right tackle. So does that mean you're not going to bench Broderick Jones if he's getting moved over to left tackle? So this could be a situation where I don't know if you're going to start a Dan Moore Jr. at right tackle. This might be a situation where they throw him out there right away. It just depends, because once again, Broderick Jones is a starter week 1 in year number 2. Now, I want to say one more thing. I talked about the red shirting because, especially on the defense back in the early 2000s, in the 2010s, you saw this. Troy Polamalu basically redshirted his freshman year, if you want to call it a freshman year, his rookie year. Ike Taylor, a lot of these guys you don't see much from. Now, if we go ahead and move ahead to the center position, the last time you drafted a center high, and I consider number 2 high, was Marquise Pouncey in 2010. You could make an argument that Kendrick Green, a number 3 pick, was selected high, and he did start right away as well. But there was nobody else in the cupboard. But I would think that Zach Frazier is in that same situation. I think he's more qualified to start right away. But I don't think that I think he's gonna. But the cupboard is bare, nonetheless. It was probably bare in the Marquise Pouncey situation as well, because you were coming off a couple years of Justin Hartwig, who was a serviceable center in this league. He was pretty good for what they needed. They won a championship with this guy, but it was a situation when they brought Marquise Pouncey in that Hartwig was already gone, and they needed to go ahead and fill that position and fill it absolutely right away. So that's what we're looking at there. Anybody else is kind of a guess. I don't expect Roman Wilson to really be a starter. Some people think that he could be the number 2 right away. I kind of think that you'll see a Van Jefferson, somebody like that, the number 2 starter going in. But it's different with different type of personnel these days, that you can see 3 wide receivers starting a game. You'll see more and more of Roman Wilson as we go, but I really would not consider him a starter going in. Peyton Wilson, no, I don't expect Wilson. I don't expect McCormick. Mason McCormick, I think, is going to be a starter in this league, and eventually a starter in this league for a long, long time. In fact, I think I am already penciling in Mason McCormick for the starting lineup in 2025. I think that's absolutely going to happen at guard. I can see that. I can see a departure happening with James Daniels, just because his contract runs out and you would still have Isaac Seumalo. So I think that's something that you'll see. Peyton Wilson, no, I don't expect him to start right away. You have, my gosh, you went right away from a weakness to a strength in the inside linebacker position, especially with bringing in a guy like Peyton Wilson. That's a guy I'm really excited about. Ryan Watts, I don't expect him to start right away, but I do love the idea that he told Mike Tomlin, "I'm ready to go right now, coach. You've got a pissed off player on your hands." And that was during the phone call. This was a guy that fell all the way to the 6th round, and he's angry about it. So there you go. Let's see what else we have. Daniel Red, good friend of the show. Why not use Troy as a swing tackle for a year? That's absolutely a possibility too. But this is a situation where I don't know how much they love Dan Moore Jr. I think he's a necessity to go in and be the incumbent, and you're going to see him that the way they do business, they don't normally put a guy like that in as the starter. Now, the Chicago Bears have a shiny new car and a quarterback, Caleb Williams, and they've already designated him as a starter. Troy could be a swing tackle for a year, but I don't know if they really want to waste him with the possibilities of how much better he could be than a Dan Moore Jr. I think Dan Moore's position right now is to give Troy a few more weeks, that 1/4 of a season, to get ready to go ahead and seize that position. But if I'm Dan Moore Jr., I'm not so fast, my friend. I'm going to prove to you that he could be a swing tackle for a year. But that should be his mentality. And if it's not, you've kind of got to worry about that. So as far as everything else goes, let's see. Did I miss a mom? I think I see we're saying happy Mother's Day to Penny. And I'm not finding it, but happy Mother's Day to Penny, because somebody went ahead and said that. So happy Mother's Day. If I did miss anybody, remember, happy Mother's Day to all of those moms out there as well. I'm not finding it, but somebody did say happy Mom's Day. So that's important. If I'm missing one of your questions, go ahead and throw it back on as well. Matthew Baum. Usually our rookies are underclassmen. That's why they usually don't start right away. Our top picks were older. Well, I agree with you on that, but let me go ahead and address that. This is the last year that you're going to really see those top picks being older. And here's a reason why. COVID changed everything. COVID gave a lot of eligibility, extra eligibility to a lot of guys. You saw that with Kenny Pickett getting an extra year of eligibility and being a 5th year senior. Because of that, you got a chance to see a lot of guys be older and get to season in college a whole lot more. So I think with the whole COVID situation and the way things were crazy there, that this is probably the end of that, and it's probably going to go back to seeing younger rookies. But I agree with you there. That's but if we go back to 2003 and we talk about a guy like Troy Polamalu, that system was actually very complex. And it was very rare to see. Didn't matter how high you were picked by the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you were in Dick LeBeau's defense, you were waiting a while to get on the field, and you needed a lot of that red shirt year. And also, Troy admits, and this to your point, Matthew, definitely to your point, Troy would say in his book that, yeah, he wasn't ready and he had a lot of adjustment to do. Hank Lee, with the schedule release being this Wednesday, who do you want to see in week 1? I don't care. I know that's a Dave answer, but really doesn't matter. Who do I not want to see in week 1? Don't want to see the Baltimore Ravens in week 1. I don't want to see the Philadelphia Eagles in week 1. But anything else is fine with me. And here's the reason why. The Steelers, well, they can't see the Philadelphia Eagles in week 1 because they're playing in Brazil. And I was kind of hoping they would, because I just didn't want them to play in Philadelphia this year, but it's going to happen. They're playing in Philadelphia, and 1965 was the last time that your black and gold went to the Pennsylvania Professional Sports Championship game and lost and won. So that's a lot of years. If you do the math, oh my goodness. What is that? 59 years? 59 years since they won. Excuse me, in the city of brotherly love. So just absolutely, I mean, that's just crazy to me. So, this is my prediction. and we did the show last week. I actually think that the Steelers are going to go ahead and get Denver on the road in week 1. And here's the reason why I think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be a primetime game. I think it's either going to be Sunday or Monday Night Football. Dave picks Sunday night. This is one of the few that we pick together the same. And I picked Monday Night Football. But I think they want to take advantage of any bad blood that's with Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos, if there's any. And I think there is some bad blood between Peyton and Russell. I actually think there is. And you can't, especially with Justin Fields there, you can't really go ahead and forecast how long Russ Wilson's going to be the starter. He could be the entire year. But if you want to take advantage of that matchup, you're going to do it very early in the season. So I can actually see that happening. So with that being said, I wouldn't mind seeing it. I mean, I'm used to the Steelers being on the road. Last year was odd. They opened at home and got the 49ers, and that was just a rough game at home. They have a home game with the Kansas City Chiefs, but that can't be week 1 either. So it's not going to be one of those two teams. So I actually think we could be right on this. Now, Dave also made a great point in that you're going to see teams that pick rookie quarterbacks very high. You're going to see Chicago against another team that picked a rookie quarterback. So say, for instance, you have Chicago. I don't know where the schedule fits here, but if Chicago's playing a team like Denver who picked Bo Nix, or if they're playing Atlanta who went ahead and picked Michael Penix, or any of the other teams that picked quarterbacks, and we saw it, 1, 2, and 3. We saw that happen. So if they're going to play each other, don't expect them to play in the first 4 weeks. Actually, think about that being a whole lot later, and it makes sense because of the red shirt that we just talked about. Brian Mizwa wants to talk about starters. How many do you see starting by the end of the season? If you count, only 3. I really only see 3 starting. I think Troy and Frazier are definitely going to be starters. You could argue that Roman Wilson, like we said earlier, could be a week 1 starter if they count a third receiver as a starter. And, when they introduce, sometimes they do. Sometimes they introduce 12 guys. They consider 12 people a starter. It just depends how they want to do that. But I'm going to consider Roman Wilson the possibility of being a starter because at receiver, there's 3 guys usually. And he's going to see action whether he starts or not. And I think the receiver position, you kind of look at the top 3 as being your starters. You can make an argument for that. So if you count those guys, don't want to see Peyton Wilson as a starter. Don't want to see Mason McCormick as a starter. I want to see them as a starter maybe next year. But with a Landon Roberts and Patrick Queen in there, you don't want to see Peyton Wilson starting because either one of those guys is hurt for the rest of the season probably, or hurt for a long time, or one of those guys just flames out. So you don't want to see that. You want to see the progression with Peyton Wilson. You want to see him be a special teams demon to earn that spot. Just like last year, man, when you saw Nick Herbig get into games, it was awesome. You loved it. You loved what he did. But you only wanted to see him in there, not because those guys were hurt, and those guys being TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith. You wanted to see him in there, late in the games in different packages. When one of those guys is getting a breather. That's it. So Ryan Watts, the same thing. Ryan Watts is an interesting situation. I mean, he could come in. B.D. Bishop, who was not even drafted, could come in and see a lot of time at slot. I think Ryan Watts is considered more of an outside corner. but I believe he's versatile enough to play in the slot too. So it just depends. But I think if I'm man, I'm taking a long time to answer this question. But I think if we're going to go ahead and do it, let's go ahead and say about three. We have a correction here. Hartwig was there through the preseason in 2010, and they cut him going down to 53. Dave Schofield mentions that. Yeah, my mistake. I just realized that then they just didn't like his performance in 2009 then. So I guess that's exactly what we're looking at there. Let's talk about Brian Brown. Isn't Scotty Miller the one who caught a bunch of bombs in Tampa 1 year from Brady? And yes, he absolutely was. He had a very good year. He had a very good Super Bowl, a very good playoffs when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won the Super Bowl a few years ago. Look, a lot of people are saying, hey, there's a lot of ex Falcons coming in here, and they're Arthur Smith's guys, but they know the culture, they know the system, as Dave was talking about the other night on the preview. And that's a good thing to have, guys familiar with the system. But don't think that they're, as Dave said, I should have Dave just jump in because I'm using a lot of his material that he gave me. And imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, Dave. But they're coming in to win jobs too. And Scotty Miller, as a fourth or fifth guy, probably a fifth guy, is going to be very valuable to this team. But don't tell Quez Watkins he didn't make the team. He's not having any of that. And if he is having any of that, then no, you don't want him. But if I'm Quez Watkins, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to show you. How many guys do we see that we don't predict before the start of the preseason? Then at the end, we're like, this guy needs to get a hat, needs to be on the 53. We're banging the table for these guys. We really are. And that's good. That's definitely something good. So, instead of poo-pooing these guys that you go ahead and bring in, I think one of the things that you want to do is just be glad that these guys are having a chance to compete, and you're going to get the best of a good bunch. I don't think it's a bad thing to have a lot of guys that aren't number one receivers competing, because they could play that role. I mean, I think you still had 842 yards not long ago by Van Jefferson. So, they could go ahead and do that. So I wouldn't go ahead and dismiss any of these guys because they don't have a big name just yet. None of you, and I'm telling you what, you could say, oh yeah, I was excited about this guy, but just like 1 million or 2 million people say they went to Max Yasgur's farm. If you don't know what that is, that's Woodstock in 1969. A lot of people claim to have been there, but there was only 100,000 people there. So I know revisionist history by saying, oh no, I like this, but none of you were excited about Jericho Cotchery coming in. And he had like 12 touchdowns his first season in Pittsburgh. You're like, some of you were, that's a decent signing. That's a good signing, but no one was salivating. But he was a very good Pittsburgh Steeler. So for that, just to look at these guys as potential opportunities for this team to get a hidden gem. And I really think that's what we're looking at. Biggie Bronco, it's not a question, but I just want to bring this up. I love it. I don't want to play Pittsburgh week 1. I don't think there's a storyline there like you guys want there to be. And it's not like he played for Denver 10 to 12 years. Biggie, I respect you a lot, but bull. No, there's a storyline there. You guys were talking about, you came on and told us, well, this is a guy that complained about an office. This guy was a problem. So there's a storyline. If you guys couldn't wait to get rid of him, there's a storyline. There was some kind of bad blood. I respect you, but I'm just going to disagree with you there. Yeah, I really do. So yeah, I really think it is a huge storyline. Who would you like to see us close out the season against? Well, it's going to be one of 3 teams. And look, this is the best division in football right now. The AFC North, it has to be an AFC North team, because that's been the rule since, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 2010 they started it, because a lot of people as coaches were sitting a lot of players. So they said, "All right, if we make it a divisional game, it could mean something. It will be a little bit more even at the end of the season." So I would go ahead and say, it just depends. I mean, if the Steelers aren't in the position to win the division, do you want them to? They're going to play at least one of these teams most of these teams very late, being Cincinnati, Cleveland, and the Baltimore Ravens. Don't normally love having the Baltimore Ravens last week of the season. But if you have a team that's fighting for a wild card, I'm not talking about the Steelers, but if you have a team that is pressed and not out of it, that's the team I don't want to be playing. So I would rather not be playing the second or third place team in the division. I'd rather the Steelers be the first place team in the division. But if you're going to get a team, you might, there's a clear division winner and the Steelers aren't one of them, I'd rather take that team. And that's what helped the Pittsburgh Steelers get in the playoffs last year. I'm not saying that they wouldn't have beaten Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. I'm not saying they would have. They've had great success against Lamar Jackson. There's only one loss as a starter, if I'm not mistaken there. But all I'm going to say, you just don't want to go ahead. And I mean, you have a better look at a clear division winner if you're not that division winner. I'm going to go ahead and take a break. I need a breath. This is definitely time for a breath. We've gone longer than I thought just to start off the show, but man, you have fantastic questions. I'm having such a good time. I'm going to be back right after this, so stick around here. It is the Steel Curtain Network. It's the Sunday Night Q&A on Fans First Sports Network. All right, we are back. It is the Sunday Night Q&A. I don't know if I was supposed to play music there or not. I can't even remember. We usually just take the short break, but I'm so used to audio shows. So there we go. You got to hear some great new music there too. I think I like it. Brian Brown, do you think the Steelers are planning to replace receivers with tight ends? I think they're looking for opportunities at the receiver position. No, I don't. I think they're looking to make sure that at least one tight end, and that being Pat Freiermuth, has a lot more balls thrown his way. But I still think that they really want to have a 1 and 2 receiver, be primary. I think they don't want to have a tight end be the second leading yard getter on that team. Now, just because things were done a different way, were done a certain way in Atlanta, a certain way in Tennessee, doesn't mean that it's going to be definitely done this way too. You can't exactly think that that's going to happen. I think that's either a Dave or a Jeff quote. I might be stealing it, but I'm kind of thinking that you don't have to really throw away the idea of a successful second or third wide receiver. But I think tight ends will be more of an important option here too. How much do you think Darnell Washington will improve this year in this offense? Asked Dennis Pavlak. I think Darnell Washington might be your clear number 2 here. Because this is what I'm thinking. We don't know this for sure. I don't even know what this offense is going to bring as far as what we think it's going to bring as a fullback. They might be going with an H-back as well, and that just screams Connor Hayward. Connor Hayward's an able pass catcher. So if you have him more as a running back, that's going to open up chances for Darnell Washington. So yeah, I think I think he doubles his targets. I think you at least see that. I'm not sure how many targets he had last year. If I'm guessing, he might have had about 20 targets last year. I don't know for a fact. That's something that we can go ahead and check on. And if I had a partner here, we would go ahead and look at it. But I could go ahead and do that. And I'm going to go ahead and pull it up. Darnell Washington had 10. Oh my gosh, he only had 10 targets last year. So yeah, man, I could definitely see him in the 20 to 30 range. He could definitely triple his targets. And that's a good opportunity. And wow, he caught 70% of the balls thrown his way. So for 61 yards. So he was 7 for 10. And he started 7 games last year too, but because that was a 2 tight end set. But as far as games go, he did play in all 17 games in some way. Once again, 61 yards. So yeah, I think you're going to see a lot more out of Darnell Washington, especially because of some of those opportunities. Hey, Bad, have you done your 53-man roster yet? Reginald Rivers from Tennessee, one of my buddies here, long time follower here, long time chatter. Appreciate you. I don't do it. I don't do one. That's a Dave Schofield, Jeff Hartman thing. They do it well. They do it better than anybody. So I kind of don't really get into the 53-man roster thing as much. That's something they do because, once again, they do it so well. But I really couldn't even come close to telling you because we know what we think about certain players. And there's some players that we don't know about. There was not a lot of people. Once again, I'm going back to Woodstock. Not a lot of people that were putting money on Jaylen Warren early in the process. They weren't putting money on Jaylen Warren in May. They started putting money on him in August of 2022. That's when they started making a big deal about him. I didn't know enough about him. So somebody's going to emerge that we're not thinking about. And I think even though I think Beanie Bishop has a great opportunity to make this team, but we haven't seen Beanie Bishop in camp. We haven't seen what he can do here. And the reason that's so important to know is because I remember the Steelers picking a guy in 2015 named Gerard Holloman. He had 11 interceptions his last year at Louisville. I believe it was Louisville. He was just phenomenal. And I was like, this is a guy. I wanted them to draft him in the 4th round. He didn't make the roster. He just did not have it on this level. So they knew something when they did not, when they waited all the way till the 7th round to draft him. So you've got to wonder, what is it his size why Beanie Bishop was let off? But there is some excitement around him as well. Andrew Wilbar, fantasy football and NFL draft. You know how much I love this guy for scouting guys. Thoughts on Mark Robinson and if he has any chance at making the roster. If I told you that I know a quarter of what Andrew Wilbar knows about players and prospects, I'm lying there. I don't even know that much. But when Andrew Wilbar asked a question about Mark Robinson, I'm actually thinking that he will make the 53-man roster this year, but not at the expense of Peyton Wilson. Unless Peyton Wilson's hurt, I think he's got to be a lock to make this team. Yeah, I think most 3rd rounders are, or unless something happens. But I can still see, because remember, Quan Alexander's not back. They already gave his number to Zach Frazier, so it doesn't look like they're bringing Quan back. He might still be hurt as well. We don't know about Cole Holcomb. I'm not optimistic about the Cole Holcomb thing. And it's not because of the fact that they're bringing guys in. It's the fact that Cole Holcomb got hurt on November 2nd. That's the game I went to with my son and nephew and my good friend Nap, who's usually in the live chat. So I went to that game, and when I saw him hurt and going off the field, you knew it was some serious business. My gosh, I think I was at the game when Quan got hurt too, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure about that one. But watching Cole Holcomb go off the field, that looked like a year plus injury. And November is a long way from August and July. So I actually think that you might have seen the last of number 55 in black and gold. I really do. So I think Mark Robinson is that fourth linebacker, possibly a fifth linebacker. If I'm missing anybody, please excuse me. But yeah, I think he makes it, but I think this could be a last gasp. I definitely think that he's not in their plans as a starter, though, Andrew. Hey, Bad, what do you remember from that game against the Seahawks where Bradshaw threw to Mark Malone? I was at a relative's house in Roxbury, Pennsylvania. My Uncle Joe and Aunt Fanny. I remember watching that. They were watching that game, and that was a 4:00 game. And I remember everybody being stunned that they threw that ball to Mark Malone. I remember something even more about that game. And this is interesting because after that game, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was 1980. After that game, some players went to a country bar. There was a movie out with John Travolta in that time called Urban Cowboy. So there was a lot of mechanical bulls, a lot of people going to country bars and riding mechanical bulls. And Cliff Stout, the backup quarterback, punched. He actually took a swing at a mechanical bull and broke his hand. Or that's how the story goes. I was in third or fourth grade at the time. I believe I just started fourth grade. And I remember reading it on paper, and all my relatives were talking about, him punching the mechanical bull and making Mark Malone the number two quarterback at that point. So I think we would have seen more Mark Malone as a receiver. But that 90-yarder, that was something special. That held up as the record holder for a long, long time until Bobby Shaw broke it in 2001. Yeah, that held for about 20 years. And then I believe Dwight Stone might have tied it with a 90, maybe a couple years before that, in like 88, 89. And then now I think, if I'm not mistaken, who has the record now? I think it's Martavis Bryant had a 94, but I need to go ahead and look at that for the longest one, but we haven't seen that in a while. Vegas, TJG, seeing how he is in the last year of his contract, Mike Daniels get traded if McCormick shows he's ready. I doubt it. I just I don't think that's a road that they're willing to go down because of depth. What would be behind Daniels? I think McCormick is definitely a future starter, but I think they want to get that red shirt and get the experience. I think they feel that they would take a little bit of a step back if they go ahead and bring him in. Seeing some more stuff here. This is great. I gotta ask my wife because I've been recording. I just recorded Here We Go, the Steelers show, but I know they were excited. They were looking. I know out towards Frostburg, Maryland, and towards Johnstown, where I'm from in Johnstown, the Northern Lights were visible. I know other places. The Northern Lights were spectacular, says Dean, out here in the mountains. Hope you guys got to see them. No, right now I'm hanging out with you guys. But if they got to see him, they would have taken a picture of me for me. I did see it though. I saw pictures on Facebook and I was like, wow, that's like Ansel Adams type stuff, even though Ansel Adams was black and white as a photographer, but I mean, it was beautiful. Steelers freak. I used the last few weeks to look at Fields' scouting evals and tapes and his quarterback play evals tapes for the last 3 years. It isn't good. No wonder he was so cheap. Yeah, that's the thing. What the big question here is, what's the difference going to be being in Pittsburgh and being in this environment than with all those different quarterback coaches, all those different coaches in Chicago. So that's kind of the thing there. So Gavin Anthony says, this might be the best team we've had in years, but I said that last year and it didn't work out. I say that a lot of years and it doesn't work out. I remember, Gavin, back in 2020, that COVID year, talking about how that receiver room was just absolutely stacked, because I thought having Juju, Deontay Johnson, and I believe Martavis was gone. But bringing Chase Claypool in, I'm like, there was somebody else there at the time. I'm like, wow, they're going to be amazing at wide receiver. There's not going to be enough balls to go around. It's going to be exciting. And it wasn't. I mean, but you got to have optimism. But this feels like a progression. This feels like I used to feel back in the day when this team was going to AFC Championship games. Not saying I just say I feel better than I've done in the last 5 or 6 years, since the last time they were in the AFC Championship game back in the 2016 season. Well, 2017, I felt really good about that team too, but that was a flame out in the playoffs. Gavin Anthony says, anyway, the new music is fire. I appreciate that. We had to change things up just because of YouTube's copyright standards. Even though we were given permission for the great Jerry Cherry music, we still use the Jerry Cherry music on audio only stuff. But I went and found that royalty free music. That's the music that you're going to hear on the preview as well. So I'm not sure what kind of music that you're hearing from that of Jeremy when he's doing it. So I appreciate that. This is just a great quote, because Dave is going back and forth with Big E Bronco on the storyline and with New Orleans and Broncos. But I just like this. Sean Payton is one of the 3 NFL coaches. If I was given the chance to interview or punch in the face, I'd punch in the face. Dave, you got to tell me who the other 2 are. Let's see. What coaches would Dave want to punch in the face? Nick Sirianni would kind of have to be on there, and Harbaugh would be on there. John Harbaugh would be on there. But maybe Nick Sirianni being with Philadelphia isn't that big of a deal for Dave. So, I mean, it could be Jim. It could be both the Harbs. It could be Wang and Knob. I don't know. But George Rice says this. Dave, you got to tell me that. I got to know. I'm saying it now. We will win. Atheist. Oh, I'm sorry. It says atheist. Autocorrect is a jerk sometimes, isn't it? Win at least a playoff game this year. We are way better. Are you seeing that? That does say atheist. This year we are way better. Just at QB alone, our linebackers, I'm excited. I still think we need one veteran wide receiver. Yeah, George, you're absolutely correct. What was your worst autocorrect situation? Does anybody have a funny autocorrect story? I'm sure I've had some. Nothing sticking out on me, but I'm pretty sure. Is it known whether the Steelers play a game outside the U.S. this year? I would say no, it's not completely known, but yeah, it's not. Don't expect it to happen this year. 2025 seems like a great opportunity for Mexico City, Ireland, or even Germany, because now Germany is like Ireland. It's become, I forget what they're calling it. It's an international locale of the Steelers. So I can see that. I would probably put early money on 2025. I think that decisions almost completely made. I think the big question now with the schedule is if you're going to get a holiday game out of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I'm actually leaning to the fact that you're going to see them either on Thanksgiving and Christmas. I don't think both. Dave actually is calling for the how good the Black Friday game would be now that we have a Black Friday game. Um, I'd love it. I would enjoy that. That would be awesome the day after Thanksgiving to have it. That'd be better than Thanksgiving. But you know, I don't know. I'm pretty much gonna say I don't think it's gonna happen. Biggie Bronco says I don't think that would work out in your favor. You do know that he's a third degree black belt, right? Says Biggie. He could be a third degree black belt, but I'm never getting. I think I got Dave Schofield mad like twice since knowing him since 2017. And he's never done anything to me, but I want to fight with Dave if I have to fight. And I only have 15 minutes of fighting left in my life, and I'm going to save it for when I'm attacked. But if I get attacked, I hope Dave's with me because I feel I've gone to Steeler games with Dave. I felt pretty safe going down a dark alley with him. And I really don't want to go to a Baltimore Ravens game in Baltimore again, but I would go if I'm standing next to Dave Schofield. I will say that. He's a gentle giant, but still, he'd be like the Hulk. You don't want to see him mad. I've never seen him that mad to fight. But if Dave's compelled to punch you in the face, run. Do you think Austin steps up more? Are we talking Stone Cold Ross Obenstein, or are we calling the $6 million man? How with inflation, what would the $6 million man be right now? That's a good question because that was the mid 70s. That was a Steve Austin too. I think Calvin Austin the third does step up, but I wonder how much of an opportunity he's going to get to step up. I'm wondering where he is in the minds of the Pittsburgh Steelers brass and coaching staff. We just don't know that answer. I think he has the ability to step up. If he's given an opportunity, yes. Mr. Wood City does say this, and I Woodside. I always thought that was Wood City, but it's Woodside. Dennis, he needs to take a step forward with his route running, and that might be the thing. But my gosh, even if he's a one-trick pony, that long touchdown pass against the Las Vegas Raiders, which I didn't see because I was in the parking lot because StubHub screwed me. That was a thing of beauty, though. Oh my gosh. Afton, does Hot Rod make the 53 or what's his name? Rodney Williams. No, I don't think so. I like him. I think he's still a practice squad guy because right now, like we talked about this earlier about tight ends, he's not beating out Darnell Washington, and he's not beating out Connor Hayward, but Connor Hayward might be a running back. So you could have four tight ends. I have a feeling he's not beating out Michael Pruitt either. If Michael makes the team, I think it's at the expense of Rodney Williams, and I think it's got to be an opportunity to have Connor at running back. That's the only opportunity he's going to get. How many targets did Muth get last year? That's a good question. I think he had, my gosh, I think Muth had, if I was guessing, I would say 60 to 70. Let's go to the Google machine on that one, my friends. And when I look at stats, I really like Dave Schofield and we love Pro Football Reference.com. I think they're fantastic with stats. So if I'm going ahead and take a look at, let's see. Oh my gosh. Wow, I'm way off. 2021, he had 60. 2022, he had 63. 2023, he had Excuse me, not 308. He had 308 yards. He had 32. Yeah, and he played in 12 games. But if he played in 16 or 17 games, he's still not in that Matt Canada offense. He wasn't going to touch 60 or 63, even if he played every single game. So yeah, wow, 32. My gosh. Hank Lee says, I like this. And I like what George Rice says after him. Washington has to see more red zone targets. He's just too big to not receive the ball there. I really think you're going to see it there. The man is 6'8". Throw him the damn ball, says George Rice. Yes. Throw him the darn tootin' ball. Damn's not a bad word, but I think darn tootin's kind of funny. Russ even says, I agree, get the big man the ball. Russ also says, I've seen Beanie play at WVU about 5 games. He's going to make this roster. I think that can happen. Yeah, I really do, but we just don't know. As far as everything else goes, a lot of talk about Holcomb and a lot of talk about what they're saying is that, yeah, they think it's going to be rough. Oh, I want to see this. Russ says, I have a good friend in the Steelers front office. Got a lot of reliable info from most, usually have to keep to myself, but this one I don't. Trice is looking very good and Holcomb is not. That's Corey Trice, the defensive back. Yeah, the Holcomb thing just scares me. And I feel bad. Here's what I feel bad about. I feel bad about the fact that this guy, Cole Holcomb, plays with heart. Cole Holcomb, I thought last year in the games that he played, I think 12, I thought he showed a lot of raw toughness. I don't think you lost anything when you lost Robert Spillane. Now, a lot of people were saying, well, look how Spillane's doing with the Raiders. Yeah, Spillane was amazing with the Raiders. He fit that whole thing. He was also getting coached by Antonio Pierce at the linebacker position. He was getting coached by the guy who became head coach in November. We're interim head coaches and now the head coach. And I've been following the Raiders a lot because of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider on Fans First Sports Network. I am still Steelers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 366. And then some. I'll always bleed black and gold, but I've taken an interest in that team, and I saw what they did. Spillane was an amazing. They feel like they stole Spillane. What they don't understand, what the Raiders don't understand, is the Steelers would have liked to have kept him, but it wasn't any sweat off their back. It wasn't. They wanted to keep him, but they didn't lose sleep over it. I don't think they really did. So I just think that. Let's see. Daniel Red, Cliff lived beside my aunt and an uncle. Got to meet him. I'm not sure what that is. So I always like to have a partner here. It's a whole lot easier when I could find that stuff. This is awesome. Since you always get the Davis Steeler jerseys, Matt Smith asked this, who's the best Davis to ever play for the Steelers? The very first Davis I remember was a running back. That I remember watching because I was in grade school was number 45, Russell Davis. I'm going to have to tell you, I don't think it's Sean Davis. I think Kerry Davis, just 1 year as fullback, did a lot of special things, and they won a Super Bowl. So I'm almost going to have to say Kerry Davis. But Sean Davis is, I guess, a close second. But I love that question. I've been looking at if I got any other team's jerseys, and I don't know if it's a typo. They took my money, but I just ordered about 200 jerseys because I was on a certain site that had them for like 68 cents. I have a feeling they're never going to show up, but I'm like, hey, what the heck? See what I can get. And I was looking for teams that had a Davis, and I'm like, hey, just as Davis, I'll grab it. So I got a Commanders jersey because they've got a linebacker named Davis, number 52. Um, there you go. That's just fun to me. Um, some of these questions here, my gosh, the Sean Payton thing really took over. Brian Brown, everybody Wang Harbs tonight. The little music emojis I gotta love. John S. Hey, Bad, just wanted to say I love the Bad Memories segment on bad language. I haven't been doing it as much lately. I think I'm going to be doing it more in the regular season because that's a lot easier to do. But I like to throw it in here and there, and I appreciate that. Here's why bad language works for me. Bad memories on bad language works for me. I just love talking about. We have so many X's and O's guys at Steel Curtain Network. I will never be mistaken for one of them. Jeff Hartman, he says he wouldn't be mistaken for one of them, but he's pretty good. He knows that stuff. Dave Schofield, yes. Shannon White, I trust him. KT Smith is the best around. Then you've got the prospect guys. And if I miss anybody, I apologize. But Wilbar and Andrew Wilbar, who's in the live chat, and Jeremy Betts, who usually hosts the show, man, prospect-wise, those guys are so smart. Me, I used to make a joke. I'm not an X's and O's guys. I'm an ecstasy and oh yeah guy. And then it sounded really weird because it sounded like drugs or sounded porno-ish. That's not what I meant. It's just the ecstaticness of how you feel with these memories and how they shape you. Because, it's Mother's Day and we have memories of our moms. Some of you became a Steeler fan because of your moms. Some of you because of an uncle, some of you because of a dad, some of you because of an aunt. There's people in your life that shape you. And these games shape you. Man, I could tell you where I was. When we had Tales from 2 a.m., I told a great story about me being in a play and being late for the last rehearsal because it was 1997 and Jerome Bettis won the game for the Steelers in overtime against the Arizona Cardinals. And it was a 405 game. And they were mad at me and they had called a meeting because of something I did that I thought was my character. Had to deal with placing a sock in a part of my costume. But I was playing the bad guy in Of Mice and Men. What was his name? Was it no? Yeah, I can't even remember the character's name, but I thought a well-placed sock would be cool. Yeah, they didn't like it, and they were. I tell a story about that, and it was almost a Jerry Maguire moment, but I just remember that. And there's so many games that I go back and I think about. I could tell you where I was for probably about 70% of the Steeler games that you mentioned of the last 45 years. Some I can't, but some have such an impression. I know, look, you can tell me where you were with the Immaculate Extension. You could tell me what you were feeling when Willie Parker broke the record against broke the record against the Cleveland Browns. I can tell you all about that game. I lost my cell phone. I was at the game. I lost my cell phone. So that's why I just love talking about the feel of the game and how it impresses you as not just a fan, but as a person. Because for me, now I'm going to get all misty because this is what I do. For me, the Steelers are about family. They're also an escape from reality. Man, I remember, no, this is off subject, but it's not. July 2nd, 1996, we went to see a movie. I was so jazzed for this movie. It's called Independence Day. Was Independence Day realistic? Not at all. It wasn't. Was it the best action film of all time? No. But that night, I had some things going on in my life that I didn't love. But I got lost in that movie and I enjoyed it. And that speech that Bill Pullman gives as the president and then jumps in a fighter plane to fight against aliens and save the world is amazing. That's just a good feeling. And so I had a friend and his wife who was really close to the wife too. And she's like, that movie was stupid. I'm like, what was stupid about it? That was fun. Like, no way would they ever allow a president go and jump in a fighter plane. I'm like, look, you could, if that's the way you feel, then you're missing the point of this. Man, I just felt great for the last 2 hours. And that was fun, and I can't wait to go see this again because I just enjoyed myself. Except for the Randy Quaid parts. The Randy Quaid parts kind of annoyed me in that movie. But it was like Cousin Eddie on Independence Day. It just wasn't necessary. But for the most part, that movie was fun for me. So that's what the Steelers are all about for me. I remember the games I watched with dad, and I still have dad, and I'm still blessed. I remember the games where mom sat in and watched too. So that's why bad memories. There's nothing bad about those memories. It's just my name. G good answer here. Some people answered the $6 million man Steve Austin question. Daniel Red says 27 billion. Dennis Pavlik says 24. Christopher 11 says $12 million man in today's numbers. Dennis is 24 at least. Steelers Freak says, tell Dave the cap doesn't mean anything and he will be ready to throw down. I like this. I like this one. Oops, wrong one. How many snaps? I gotta get it right. How many snaps does Patterson get at running back this year, Bad? I don't know. I can't answer that, but I think he's going to see a lot of snaps at receiver too. I have not had a chance to wrap my brain around the whole Patterson thing. Cordero Patterson, that is. But I love the idea of him. And I love how they can get creative with bringing him in. So if I could, I just couldn't guess. That's just a tough one for me because this is a really unique running back situation for them. You haven't seen one like this for a long, long time where you don't want Najee Harris to go down. You definitely don't. But you're not in a situation where you're imagining life without him either. Now, it's true, Jaylen Warren's going to put the ball on the ground more. Well, statistically, he has put the ball down on the ground a lot more than Najee Harris did. And they got lucky a lot with some of those fumbles. But you know that you have an opportunity with Jaylen Warren. We've already heard from our source that they aren't looking to trade or get rid of Najee Harris. I think this is just the evolution of the running back position in the fifth year option. It's just a different world. So I don't think that there's bad blood there with Najee. But where does Patterson fit in? I think Patterson is your ultimate utility knife. You're going to see him. You're definitely going to see him returning kicks. I would not think that they wouldn't have him returning kicks. Do you realize that his next kick return for a touchdown breaks the all-time NFL record. That's amazing. That's definitely amazing. Um, No one you know sounds like treason to me, bad. I think that goes back to my Las Vegas Raiders comment. Hey, I get paid to I get paid for it. And when I just say I get paid for it, is like, hey, that's a part of my job here at Fans First Sports Network. I want all of our networks to do well. I'm not going to lie to you. I hope the Baltimore Ravens affiliate of the Fans First Sports Network gets great numbers. I'll go on their show, promote it. I'll talk Steelers. I won't lie on how I feel about John Harbaugh. Might not call him Wang Harbs there, or maybe I should. I don't know, but no, I mean that's just where we are. So I've just I have to listen to Raiders material every single like twice a day, every single day now, because that's how often they do shows, and it's fantastic. When they play the Steelers this weekend, you're gonna go check those shows out. In fact, I would actually tell you check out the Steelers' opponents every single week here on Fans First Sports Network. Go and check them out because you're going to hear them talking about that game from a different point of view, trying to figure the Steelers out. But also, you're going to learn your game day watching and entertainment is going to be so much better because you're going to hear more about it. Brian Brown asked, is Landon Roberts still around? Yes. He has one more year left on the contract. Man, I will go ahead and say this. I have no problem saying this. I thought he was going to be good. So this is not a Woodstock Max Yasgur farm thing. I was calling, one of the few things I got right was calling for Landon Roberts. And I've been calling him since Brian Flores was hired in 22. I thought that'd be perfect. I loved the guy when he was kicking our butts as a Patriot. I'm like, man, I love this player. He is just tough. Absolutely tough. I think Landon Roberts, if Landon Roberts started his career as a Pittsburgh Steeler, he'd probably be one of your favorite untouchable Steelers of all time. I really think you would love this guy. Hey, Bad, how excited are you about the potential of this team from 1 to 10? 9? I'm excited about it, but let me preface this. I was really excited about the Pirates at the beginning of the season. I'm still watching them because of the Paul Skeens debut. No, this isn't a baseball show, but that got me really excited. And even though they won his debut, he didn't win. They won his debut, but he was just spectacular for them. I just have that deep down gut feeling that this could be a very fun, productive year that even though the seat's not hot makes you stop talking about a hot seat for Mike Tomlin. I don't think they win the Super Bowl. I'm not calling that. I'm not ruling it out either. Just I'm not putting the mortgage on it, but I love it. I really love the potential, and I know the P word, but I really love how great this team is being built. So as far as that goes, I'm really Christopher Levin says, Jerry Maguire, show me the trophy. Yeah, Mr. Woodside, Vanderjagt, 80 kicker, wide from 45 in 2005. If you're asking about my bad memories, my gosh, I talk about my neighbor Joanne, the immaculate interception in Super Bowl 43. Oh, these. Dennis Pavlak says, I love the story of Dwight Stone running you over on the sideline. You know, I had Dwight Stone on one of my shows in 2022, and we talked about that. He doesn't have much of a recollection of it, but the one thing that he said to me, he's like, when I told him about it, he's like, oh my God, I didn't hurt you, did I? What a great guy Dwight Stone was. Really, it was great great to talk to him. Yeah, and that's a true story. I was 21 years old. No, I was 20 years old right before my 21st birthday, and it was Bubby. Not no, it was Yancey Thigpen's first game. They had just signed Yancey Thigpen. Bubby Brister was the quarterback. Um, oh, it wasn't the Raiders stuff. No one you know. Cousin Eddie is a true cinematic hero. Yeah, I just didn't think it worked in Independence Day. I've man, Quade's gotten crazy since. Daniel Red, both my mom and dad have black and gold urns sitting on a Myron Cope terrible towel. Oh my god, Daniel. That's beautiful. Um that that breaks my heart and fills my heart at the same time. I tell my daughter because I know she's the one to do it, and I saw it from the show This Is Us, the first season, where they where she told the guy couldn't go on a date because she's watching the game with her dad and put the urn on the couch. And I asked my daughter to still get red zone or not red zone, still get Sunday ticket wherever it is and make sure I get to watch the games. If not, is she could just put the radio on. Just let me hear the games. Maybe I'll get to hang out with Myron and Tunch. Oh, that'd be amazing. But Daniel, that's awesome. God bless you. Dave Schofield, does Patterson getting a carry on a does Patterson getting a carry on a jet sweep count? That's a touch. But that's not that to me is not a target though. Because we don't count that year, we didn't count when Chase Claypool had those running plays, we didn't really talk about that. Dennis Pavlak says, don't forget about running through the jungle bet. I love Brandon Harriet and the guys from Running Through the Jungle because remember, B Dirt's one of our guys from the homies. That's a good show. I remember talking to him last year at this time, getting that up and running. There's another good one too. We have another good show. The Unofficial Bengals podcast as well with Frank LaPlaca too. There's some really good, my gosh, there's some really good opponents of the Pittsburgh Steelers on Fans First Sports Network. So I hope you check it out. Christopher 11, we love you bad. You and Dave S are the best on SCN. I appreciate you saying that. I think you got half of it right. Dave Schofield is one of the best, but man, I'm saying Hartman, Kevin Smith, Jeremy Betts, Andrew Wilbar, the homies. I missed a couple. You know, Shannon White. I mean, man, I love all those guys that we have. You know, the guys from what Ian's talking about, Kyle and Greg. Kyle Christ, Greg Benevent. We have some fantastic people on here. Even our new ones, D Love Sports, Philip Giannoletti, Daniel J. My gosh, I hope I'm not missing any. And if I am, Big Brosco. Those guys are great. If you said that I was 16th place among all those, I'd be happy. You know why? And I appreciate you saying that, Christopher 11, but I love that you get a chance to hear all these different voices here. And man, this is a labor of love. This is but it's not labor. We love doing it. We absolutely do. Biggie Bronco wants to know what my shirt says. I'll push it down. I'm a delight is what it says. I just got this today. My sister just gave it to me and my wife had something to do with it because every time my wife says to me about me being a pain in the butt for something, I say, but I'm a delight. And I stole that from Sheldon Cooper on The Big Bang Theory. I heard him say, I'm a delight. So, this shirt, I have not had this shirt. I think I got this shirt around 7:00 this evening. So I don't think I've had it more than 3 hours. So I put it on, tried it on, it fit, and yeah, the I'm a Delight shirt. I might have to wear this more, but and this isn't a licensed shirt. She had it made for me, so that would be that. I might have to talk to Hartman. That might be a bad language shirt. We might have to get FFSN put on here. Would you wear an I'm a Delight shirt? Oh, awesome. I love it. All right. I think it's time to get on out of here. Let me see if I missed any more questions. Brian Brown. I love Brian Brown. Tell them I said the Ravens can kiss it. He always wants everybody to kiss it. You know, I kissed the Blarney Stone. St. Patrick's Day, 1986. There you go. So I kissed it too. So I hope you're not asking them to kiss the Blarney Stone, because that's not rough stuff. Yeah, Pay Dirt. Check out Pay Dirt. Also, check out Pay Saunders on our Bears network, the Bear Claw. There's really good stuff here. We're gonna have so much more for you as well. Dwight Hands of Stone. I was hoping you wouldn't say that. No one, I was hoping. He's such a good dude. Shannon's my guy. I really like him. Afton's Mr. Woodside says that. Afton, the SCN crew is so diverse. Each guy brings a unique perspective. This is Brian, you're the best. Jeff is next. I love all y'all. Daniel Red, thank you. I appreciate that. Just makes me feel good. J-Rock, I like this. Yo. And he's got a Chicago Bears logo here on his avatar. So he knows Justin Fields. Arthur Smith's offense is a real good fit for Justin Fields, says J-Rock. J-Rock, I hope you're checking out the Bear Claw too. I like that. Did you know you have to kiss the Blarney Stone upside down, says Kathy Forehead. Here's the thing. I have a picture of 14-year-old Bad laying on his back wearing his Richland percussion jacket from Richland High School, Johnstown, PA. And there's a guy in a newsboy hat, an Irish guy. He laid out a little blanket. I had to lay on my back. Not only lay on my back, you have to arch, because there's like a little bit of a chasm, not big, not a big gap, but enough of a gap where you look down and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to fall through those cracks, even though I was tiny back. Your boy Bad was only about 130 pounds as a high school freshman. Now, I don't think I was that much. I was probably about 120 as a high school freshman. But gosh, was I even 100 pounds back then? I don't know. I gained it all here. Mariah Carey's fault, but that's another bad language. Bad memories. I'll tell you about that. My radio days. But anyways, yeah, you have to arch back, and you have to bend your head all the way back and kiss the Blarney Stone that way. And my dumb friends, this was right after the Rock Hudson stuff. And a lot of my dumb friends were like, I'm not kissing the AIDS stone. This is 1986, and the Rock Hudson and AIDS thing came out in 1985. And I'm like, I'm kissing it. I'm not missing out an opportunity. And then years later, one of my best buddies said, man, I'm stupid. I should have kissed it. I'm like, yes, you should have kissed the Blarney Stone. Man, I love it. Guys, there's a lot of questions. Not questions. There's a lot of comments right now about us. A lot of questions, not questions, a lot of comments about moms and Mother's Day. Thanks to all you moms. Biggie Bronco says, everybody give your mom a big hug. If you can, you only get one. I'm sorry, a big hug if you can only get one. And yeah, for those of you that have lost moms along the way, think of those great memories that you've had with them. Dennis Pavlak, agree with your BB free, Tony. We miss him, man. I miss Tony too. He still writes. I'd love to get him on a show again. Thanks so much, man. I went way over. I haven't done a show 120 in a long time. I'm gonna have to yell at me, because I always say, guys, let's not go over an hour. And here, I had so much fun with you. This was great. Yes, Tony writes on fansfirstsportsnetwork.com, stillcurtainnetwork.com. Make sure you check it out. Know when you know. Sadly, I haven't had my mom in 23 years. So, yes, show your mom some love. And I want to say this. There's still time in this Mother's Day. If you haven't talked to your mom in a while for some reason, things got ugly along the way. Luckily, this hasn't happened to me, but it happens. If you want to build that bridge again and you feel you can, give it a try. Because man, we just don't know. I mean, you just don't know when this is anybody's last day. Russ has something here. Let me read this. I can't read all of it, but it seems happy. Special Mother's Day for us. Daughter is finally 2 months pregnant. Baby is due on Christmas Eve, so gonna be a pap. So excited. Russ, man, I love it, Russ. That's awesome. That's awesome. Look, to all you mothers out there, thank you so much. I do have the floor, so I've got to do it. Patricia Chipper Davis. My mom, I've had her for a long, long time. She has had 9 back surgeries, and she barely gets out of bed, but she was able to get up today. I helped her out of a chair. It was so special they only live a half an hour from me. And I got a chance to spend time with both my mom and dad today. And it wasn't enough time because I had to rush home to record. And I felt bad about it, but I wanted to spend time with them. I got it. So thank you to my mom. She gave me life, but she gave me a lot of the heart that's in my body. And believe it or not, you're not going to know this with the last name Davis, but my mom's full Italian. And so I'm half Italian. And that's just, growing up with a Italian mother and an Italian grandmother, that was special too. But I'm not going to get off this show without talking about the other special mother in my life that is the mother to my children, Jennifer Louise. I love you. You are such a special person. We're dealing with a lot right now with my daughter and her allergies. She has severe allergies. She can't eat much of anything right now, and it's heartbreaking. And my wife spends every waking moment researching, calling doctors, doing things, cooking her special food, doing all of this stuff. And the love that she shows, man, I can't do what she does. And, we joke about the shirt, I'm a delight, because I'm a pain in the butt to live with. She wouldn't tell you that. But I frustrate the heck out of her. But she goes on, and she always says, because I'm saying the inappropriate, funny stuff. And she always says, you were going to go ahead and you're going to take that conference call from school when the school calls. And I have. But I tell you what, and my wife has had vision problems for the last 2 years, and it's so hard for her to even look at a computer right now. She can't drive, but she's the greatest. She's one of the greatest mothers that I will ever know to my kids, our 3 children, Stefan, Connor, and Jillian. I mean, you're blessed to have her. This is not, thank you for all the kind thoughts. This isn't a sad story because a lot of people have it so much worse. I am so blessed in this life to have my mother, my 2 sons, my daughter, my dogs, but my wife too. I'm also blessed, and this is going to sound crazy to say this. I'm also blessed not only to have all those people in my life, my mom and dad and everybody that I just mentioned, my wife, my kids, my dogs, But I'm blessed to have the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I'm blessed to have all of you in my life. We've said this before, but we can't say it enough. We can't do these shows without all of you. And this is called the Steelers Q&A, and I have the platform, and you're asking me questions and asking my opinion. But you all know just as much as I do. I just am blessed to have this platform. So, one thing that we can agree on, whether we disagree or agree, I can flat out disagree with you, but not not show you any disrespect. Even Big E Bronco. Yeah, Big E, you're the most respectful Broncos fan around. You're one of the most respectful fans of another team around. I'm blessed to have all of you. But yeah, I mean, I might not agree with you all the time. And I might tell you, no, you're flat out wrong. Because I'm going to disagree with you about Mike Tomlin and fire Mike Tomlin stuff. I wasn't disagreeing with fire Matt Canada, but I look at the Mike Tomlin situation differently. But I don't disrespect you for looking at it differently than I do. I'm going to tell you how I feel, but I'm not going to tell you you're an idiot. Look, this is so special. You know how special it is to know that we can spend 90 minutes together, which way over my time, but know that we could spend this time together and just talk about something we love and escape, like the movie Independence Day. We get to escape, and that's what we're doing. So God bless all of you. I love having you all a part of my Steeler family. And even Biggie Bronco is a part of my Steeler family. Because you're a part of it. If you're spending time, because you obviously love something about it. And Biggie, I know deep down you have some affection for the Steelers. I love it. You know my rule. Anybody's allowed in my living room. You're just not allowed to pee on my couch. Take that for what you want. I love you all. Thank you very much. My name is Brian Anthony Davis. This has been another episode of the Steelers Q&A. Jeremy Betts will be here next week. Thank you. I'm bad. BAD. And for now, that stands for, of all things, I'm going to try this. That stands for be a delight. I love you. We'll see you next week.